Right, we've got Hana-Rawhiti Maipi-Clarke with us today. Kia ora, Hana, how are you?
Good, thank you. Ngā mihi kia tātou.
So what has Te Pāti Māori been doing in the house at the moment?
Well, funny you say that. Actually, why it's taken so long to get an appointment is actually because we're running through urgency. So urgency is only applied from the government when there's a serious emergency that's needed to be addressed in Aotearoa, such as a Christchurch earthquake, such as the mosque shooting in Christchurch as well. So a very high emergency. What this government is doing, this coalition government, is actually pushing through the 100-day plan that impacts Māori and vulnerable people the most as a state of emergency process. So, for example, how that looks day to day is we actually start at 9 o'clock in the morning, all the way through till 12 a.m. tonight, consistently since we have been elected in. As there's only 6 of us, but that's a 6-strong party team that has been fighting against this government in every different aspects through the urgency process.
And what legislation is going through urgency?
At the moment, it's almost like what legislation hasn't been brought into Parliament. The repeals, the disestablishment, the complete delete of Te Aka Whaiora, one, and first and foremost, actually I've got the whole paper here. So we have had Te Aka Whaiora come through, the fast track bills coming through, we have the legal services bill, we have had honestly, just 100 different bills. We've got the the Three Waters legislation. So whether that be through Taiao Health, also looking at the fact that our government has just completely scrapped without public consultation reo from government departments and agencies. Then we also have the Treaties Principles Bill that's on the table but hasn't been addressed or brought into Parliament just so yet. There is multiple different layers that this government is bringing through at a very, very rapid space and time without public consultation, and even more so knowing that it's going to affect Māori, even if we look at the smoke-free legislation that has been repealed. And this government isn't using sugar-coated words. They are quite literally, in their pieces of legislation, actually, and bear in mind, sometimes we only get this legislation at least 1 or 2 hours maybe before on the table to assess it, highlight the key point areas, because this government is not even consultating with other party members or political parties. So it is our job to go through it as fast as we can, bring up different networks and kaupapa people that can help us assess and research. But it's plain straight obvious. It's written in black and white. Some bills have said to replace Te Tiriti with the treaty. Plain, simple, in that specific legislation. So, yeah.
What's the possibility of the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi being presented by the ACT Party? What's the possibility of it going past the first reading, actually, into the third reading and into this legislation, going on to become referendum?
I think we have to take this as a bird's eye view, and actually mena ka horopaki a tātou i te mātai te tiro o tēnei mea te tiriti. It's not just the treaties bill within itself, but actually through every different aspect, whether that be the removal of Section 27 within the legal services, that clause or that Section 27 report, that removal actually means that there's no cultural report done within our justice system. So that's pretty much taking te tiriti out. And the consultation level with the tiriti partner, and I want to make this very clear, it's not like this 100-day plan of this coalition government. 100 days doesn't justify how long Te iwi Māori has suffered. It's 180 years worth. We've been used to this rhetoric from this system that's never served us. So every aspect, they're bringing in small clauses within every legislation or part of their 100-day bill where they insert stuff like 7AA within Oranga Tamariki, Section 27 within the legislation, the legal services, could possibly even be looking at Section 4. Now, don't quote me on that because I haven't actually seen the bill, because we're going through urgency and we haven't seen the bill yet. So there's all these different sections that actually underpin the relationship between tangata tiriti and tangata whenua. And that is where not just the treaty principle bill, but actually we need to have a bird's eye view on every single legislation that could be removing or has already removed treaty principles within that legislation or area. What is to come is still uncertain at this time. This coalition government, well, National have outruled taking it to beyond select committee. We are holding them to account on that. It shouldn't even go to select committee in the first place or pass first reading. And the fear and rhetoric that's coming from the ACT Party with David Seymour as a direct attack on te iwi Māori, but ko te karanga, ko te karere ki te iwi Māori from te Pāti Māori is making sure that we have a clear overview of not just the treaty principle itself, but the treaty, te tiriti, aroha mai, te tiriti actually comes in everything, in every layer. And it is up to us in here in Parliament, but also people and our whānau outside of Parliament to keep holding people to account to abide by the treaty te tiriti principles.
Kia ora. Is Te Pāti Māori across ACT MP David Seymour's connections to the Atlas Network, are you aware of his background there and his involvement with that global think tank back in Canada?
Kyle, not to my individual self, I don't do a lot of research on David Seymour personally myself.
Okay, kia ora. Thank you for joining us today, Hana. Really appreciate your time. Kia ora, thank you.